What does it take to win a national title? What does it take? Everyone right now ready to make their ascent up to the top of the mountain? Everyone's chasing the same thing? What does it take to win a national title? Well, let's unpack that a little bit. The way that I want to do this, though, I want to go through the top 5 teams as it pertains to the polls, the coaches poll and the AP poll. You know how we feel about those here. They're great for preseason talking and for us kind of taking a gauge at where things could stand. Ultimately, I think they're a little bit unimportant, to be real. We'll talk about the rankings when they get here in college football playoff territory. But I want to go through the top 5 here because these are the top 5 teams that are getting talked about the most and just kind of paint you this picture. These teams win a national title if, and then fill in that blank for us. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at JD Pickell. Thank you in advance for that. So let's start with the defending, reigning, 2-time national champion Georgia Bulldogs. What do they need to do to win a national title? What do they need to do to go 3 in a row? For them, I think it's all about the approach. Because right now, they're about to undergo the most stressful, the most taxing, the most emotionally draining season that I think they've had there under Kirby Smart. And I say this because if you watch the Swamp Kings documentary, and I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but there is a scene where the majority of the people being interviewed kind of share the same sentiment. There was so much pressure on us in that 2009 season, where the expectation was for us to go win a national title. So week in and week out, instead of enjoying the journey, we're thinking, golly, man, we gotta do this. It was less the joy of winning and more so the relief of winning for those teams. And I think Georgia is kind of sitting in that same situation. Everyone, including yours truly, is picking them to be in the college football playoff. Heck, we got them winning the national title. A lot of stress, a lot of outside noise around Georgia right now. So for them, it's all about locking it in and staying out of their own way. Not letting it be about anything else besides what happens on Saturdays, what happens during the week for them in practice. Keeping the main thing the main thing. I've also said this before, and I think that we're all on the same page here. I think Kirby Smart, it is against his code of ethics for him to become complacent, for him to let his team become complacent, but that's a very big variable for them to win a national title. Also, does the offense click by November? New quarterback, Carson Beck going to be the guy dealing for you back there. Mike Bobo going to be your OC. So the two pieces that were with you when you won the national titles in 21 and 22, Stetson Bennett and Todd Monken, they are now gone. The big thing for the offense, though, it doesn't need to click in September. It doesn't need to click in October. You'd like it to be looking good. You'd like it to be able to be functional at the very least, but we don't need to be firing on all cylinders until we get to those games against Ole Miss and against Tennessee. Kirby Smart, I don't think would ever say that, but that's how I feel about it. Other part of this, though, and this is probably crucial for all these teams, but I'm going to say it for Georgia, they got to stay healthy. Talent is not the issue at Georgia. Kirby Smart has recruited way too well for talent to be the issue in Athens. But if you start losing guys, obviously that's going to start to eat away at your chances and what you can do from a game plan standpoint and from a depth standpoint week in and week out. It's hard to go wire to wire. It's hard to win all 12 games. It's hard to go healthy all 12 games. Branson Robinson, running back for them, out for the season. You hate that for Georgia. You hate that for Branson Robinson. But a big piece for them going forward will to be able to stay healthy. They got the talent. They got the firepower. Can they stay healthy? Extremely important for Georgia as they seek a 3rd national title. They do all those things. I think they're in good shape. Let's talk about Michigan. Michigan, also another team that people are picking to win a national title. They have made it very clear. National title or bust. We've beat Ohio State 2 years in a row. Got the Big Ten hardware 2 years in a row. We want the big boy. We want to beat the final boss. We want to win the national championship. So they win a national championship, in my mind, if they can be ambidextrous on offense. And I don't mean can J.J. McCarthy throw well with his right hand and his left hand. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about can they run the ball and throw the ball equally effectively. Because that's kind of the talking point all season long, all offseason long, rather, is J.J. McCarthy taking the next step and all that. And I think that's fair. I think the next level of that, the thing that people maybe need to talk about a little bit more, is can his pass catchers take that next step as well? Can Colston Loveland step into a bigger role playing tight end? Can Cornelius Johnson step into a bigger role? Going down the line here, his pass catchers have to be able to separate and be the guys that ultimately win for them. When you get one-on-one, when they load the box because Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards are eating our lunch, can we go in on the outside? Can we create explosive plays and throw the knockout punch with the pass game? Now, the other part of this is likely Michigan, if you're going to win a national title, at some point in time, you probably got to go through Georgia. And they know that. That's why they have the beat Georgia period at practice. What is the formula to beating Georgia? It's been a while since someone's done it, but the team that got closest last year, Ohio State, they were winning on the outside. We had Rusty Mansell of Dogs HQ on this very show, and we asked him straight up, Rusty, how do you beat Georgia? It looks nearly impossible the way they're operating right now. How do you beat Georgia? And he said with a straight face, you got to win on the outside. We talk about it here a fair amount when we break down these games and preview them. You don't have to have every matchup. And I think Michigan will have a pretty solid standing when it comes to playing on that line of scrimmage. I don't think they'll get overpowered there at all based on what they have on the offensive and defensive line. But you got to be able to win the matchups when the ball's in the air, have it be one-on-one. Can you go win there? Don't have to have all the matchups, but you got to have one or two to be able to exploit them in the pass game. So that is the key for Michigan if they want to win a national title. Let's talk about Ohio State here. And Ohio State, at the time of us being live here, is a little bit unsettled in some way because we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. So there's a multifaceted answer when it comes to Ohio State. But the given is the quarterback situation has to be solidified. And being solidified as the quarterback and the guy at Ohio State means something a little bit different than it probably does at other schools. Meaning, when I say solidified at Ohio State, I mean solidified to the standard at Ohio State. So if you want to win a national title, that's a tall order. I need the quarterback play to be Heisman finalist level. I don't have to be a Heisman finalist. I need to be Heisman finalist level. I need you to be able to make the offense. I need you to capitalize on the potential of the offense is what I'm trying to say. You got Marvin Harrison Jr., get him the football. Emeka Egbuka, get him the football. Trevian Henderson, Mine Williams, make sure they don't have a stacked box to run into because we're able to get something downfield. So that has to be situated again at the time of us being live right now. No announcement on the starting quarterback, Devin Brown or Kyle McCord, but they got to figure that out with flying colors, in my humble opinion, for them to win a national title. Now here's the deal too. Big men win trophies. On the defensive line for Ohio State, this is the other factor. They need to be able to hold serve in the big spots. In the big spots. I'm not talking about week 1 at Indiana. I'm talking about when you play Michigan at Michigan, when you play Penn State, when you get to the college football playoff and you play a team like a Georgia, like an Alabama, heck, maybe an LSU. I need you to be able to hold your own. You don't need to be overpowering, but you need to be able to hold it down enough to where we're not getting gashed and Donovan Edwards is running for a 60-plus yard touchdown. Like, we need to be able to hold it down for just a little bit for the offense to get rolling, because I don't think that talent offensively will stay down for them, but they have a ton of talent on the defensive side of the ball, and the defensive line especially, to where I don't think this is asking too much. Mike Hall, program guy. JT Tuimoloau, pretty sure he put a full season highlight tape together from that one game against Penn State. Jack Sawyer, we've talked about him a lot on here. I think he's going to be great for Ohio State this coming season, getting to play just defensive end. Got to be solid on the defensive line in the big spots and not have that be the thing that an SEC team can just pick on, like a Michigan can just run through for the second year. That's got to be crucial. It's got to be improved. And Ohio State fans, they know that. Other part of this, to stay on the defensive side of the ball, secondary transfers have to mesh. Jim Knowles' defense, man, he's the mad scientist of defensive football in college. He's a Cornell grad. Shout out Jim Knowles. But the reality is that's a tough defense to learn, to walk into. You got 2 transfers, Jihad Carter playing safety for you, Davison Igbenogsom playing corner for you. 2 really good players, 2 guys they're happy to have in Columbus, but how they mesh within that scheme, it's got to be quick. It's got to be quick. We can't be waiting on these guys to get up to speed and, by week 9, then we're kind of ready to roll. Once we get to the Big Ten title game, then we fit. No, it's got to be, we're good to go. After that first month of the season, there is no more ramp-up time. We got Notre Dame week 4. We got to be ready to roll here. If they can do all those things, Ohio State, I think, can win a national title. It's multifaceted, though, to be transparent. So Alabama now, a team a lot of people are talking about. We're not going to do the whole conversation around Nick Saban being doubted. We've talked about that a lot. But for Alabama to win a national title, for them to hoist a trophy yet again, that defense needs to be dominant. Not good, not great, not elite. They need to be dominant. The formula, I think, and this is a tall ask, but to win a national title, that's a tall ask as well. 2021 Georgia Bulldogs, historic kind of defense. I don't think you need to match the numbers necessarily, but that formula needs to kind of hold true for Alabama this coming season. Because for them, it's going to be a Python kind of approach. It means we're going to control the tempo offensively, and defensively, we're just going to stonewall you. Going to be way better than last year is their approach, with Kevin Steele now calling the defense. Going to play fast and free. We're going to make sure that you don't get points, and as the game wears on, guess what's going to happen? Offense, that run game, going to wear on you, and slowly but surely, while the defense holds you, the defense has got you wrapped up like a python, you're going to slowly start to feel the oxygen leave your body. It's morbid, but hang with me here. That's the Alabama approach. They want to squeeze and apply pressure, and by the third or fourth quarter, game over. Game over. We have forced you to submit. Now, that only works if the defense is able to do what I just talked about them doing, being able to control the tempo of games and let the offense wear on you. If the offense can wear on them, the offense gets to just sort of bully that opposition, drive in and drive out quarter after quarter, that's going to start to wear. But if the defense can't hold it down, the defense allows, a couple of scores that are gimme after, first couple of drives, and you're playing a game where you're trying to match scores, like that's not the kind of style Alabama wants to play this coming season. So elite defense, I said not just elite, dominant defense equates to control, equates to Alabama having a real good shot to win a national title. I don't think quarterback is overly important. We'll talk about that here just a little bit later in this live show, but that has to happen for them to win a national title. Last thing we want to talk about here, let's see what's going on in Baton Rouge. What do they need to do to win a national title? They are number 5, I believe, in both polls at the time of us being live. I think the offense has to become more explosive. And everyone says that Jaden Daniels got to push the ball downfield. Yes, we've talked about that. But I think to put it specifically, LSU, they scored 32 points a game last year. I need them closer to that range of like 38, 40 points a game. Every team that was in the college football playoff last year was right around the neighborhood of 40 points a game offensively. I think that's still the order for LSU. I think for Jaden Daniels and Mike Denbrock, that would equate to being able to push the ball downfield more, but even so, that's kind of the number I'm looking at. It's kind of the landmark for me for LSU to get to the national championship game and to win a national title. I think that has to happen. The other part of this, and this is more overarching and this is more specific, if the same LSU team suits up every single Saturday, and it's a version of what we saw against teams like Ole Miss in the second half, against Alabama, then at that point in time you say, okay, I'm buying LSU. Because LSU, when they're on their game, man, their talent, I think it's good enough to at the very least go toe-to-toe with anybody. But they got to be on their P's and Q's. They got to be able to understand that they can't walk into a game against Arkansas and have a sleepy afternoon and get a superhero effort from Harold Perkins to win that game. You'll take close wins because all wins are good. They don't talk about how much that win was by when you just look back on it 5 years later. All you see is that W in the column. But even so, man, for LSU, like that is the key factor for me. That's the key piece for them, and I think they understand that. So if they can be the same team, solidify their identity, be more explosive offensively, I think they got a real good shot to win a national title. So it's easy to say, easy to talk about, but we're about time to start playing some real college football games, and we'll find out who's going to eventually hoist that hardware at the top of the mountain in Houston. The hard count is brought to you by the good people at Game Time. I'll paint a picture for you really quick. Your team, you weren't expecting them to really get rolling like they are right now, and it's late December. Excuse me. We'll say early December. Could be late December too. Big time matchup for them. Maybe it's a bowl game. Maybe it's a conference title game. And these tickets that you wanted to get for their respective conference championship or their New Year's Six bowl game, whatever it is, starting to hike up the prices when you look on other sites. Game Time, though, got you taken care of. You won't be in that situation where your alma mater is playing for a conference title or a big-time bowl game and you can't go because you don't have tickets. Don't be in that situation. We're going to use Game Time to get it done. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals, and they have the best prices. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Saturday morning, wake up, need tickets, got it, let's roll. Thanks to Game Time. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets on all of the sports and entertainment events. The Game Time guarantee means you'll get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time says, no problem, 110%. The difference, we're crediting you that. So here's what we're going to do. Snag tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code HARDCOUNT, shout out to y'all, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code HARDCOUNT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Appreciate y'all being a part of that operation. They help us. They help you. We, us, ours. The show rolls on. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.